And good evening, everybody, and welcome to Going nuCLEar, full-blown coverage of the land. I am Ethan Greenberg, and back in here with me, my co-host Mike Rasinski. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I would have been doing better if either of our two teams playing yesterday would have won. But other than that, it's just sports. So I'm doing good. Good to be back. Thanks for thanks for
Yeah,
having me back.
glad to have you back here. We missed you. Yeah, it is just sports, and I think that's where some people lose a lot of focus these days, and they let it take over their reality and what they're what's going on in their lives. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah, does it suck to lose? But at the end of the day, how did that really change something for me? It didn't.
Yeah, and that's what I love. That's what I love about sports and Cleveland sports too. No matter what, you can get so passionate about it. It brings the community together. It lets you keep up with old friends even if you move away. But in the end, it's just sports, and you can be mad about it, but it doesn't have to ruin your day because of that. A lot of good with it, and that's why I like following Cleveland sports. All the passion, but in the end, you can just enjoy it and take it for what it is.
Yes, absolutely. And even when you are upset about it or disappointed, that's not necessarily a horrible thing. It's a way to bring you together. You can commiserate.
Yeah, yeah, and we do that a lot in rooting for Cleveland sports.
It is, yeah. It's just it becomes a piece of you that's just what it is. And you pass it down from generation to generation here. So last night you talked about it would have been better if either one of our teams had been able to win. So let's rip the band-aid off here, Mike, and let's find out what the Cavs let us know after last night's performance in the series loss to Boston. So I guess the first things first, you lose 113-98. You were undermanned. You're without Allen for the whole series. You lost Mitchell after game 3, and then you didn't have Karis LeVert. And it was an uphill battle. They fought valiantly, and Mobley scores what 33 last night. Unreal.
Yeah, yeah. You know what they should have done is let Marcus Morris shoot every shot. He came out of nowhere. What a game!
Yeah, it was really good to see, and I think that I think he could have been more help at other times. There was an opportunity there, and we're actually gonna. I think that's something we should kind of look at or discuss as we take the overall big picture look at where the Cavaliers are now. They fall to Boston 113-98, a gentleman sweep for the Celtics. They're the number 1 seed, and they are better than the Cavs, but not that much better. I think a healthy Cavs team, this would have been a much more difficult series for the Celtics, but it didn't happen that way.
Yeah, and let's see. I mean, honestly, did any of us expect the Cavs to win this series, even with a healthy lineup? It would have been an uphill climb anyways. So, overall, I was glad to see fight in the team. The team didn't give up on JB, which was good to see. Did he make all the best decisions? Did he adjust in the games? No, I didn't see what I kind of wanted to see, but it was a fun series. And in the end, I don't think we expected really more than that. The season in general was almost like you said, with all the injuries, is almost like it mirrored the Browns season. You had the injuries during the regular season in the playoffs, but they underachieved. They had a really good regular season record. They won the first round in the playoffs, and then they kind of lost to who they should have lost to.
Yeah, definitely. I think that at different points in the season, if you would have said to me at the outset, before the season tipped off, what are my expectations? Are we going to go further than we did last year? I would have said absolutely yes. I think they should be able to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Then you get hit with these injuries in the middle of the season. You lose Garland, you lose Mobley in December for about 2 months. And at that point, the record was 13 and 12. 13 and 12. All of a sudden, from mid-December through up till the All-Star break, they win 22 more games. and they go like 18-2 in a 20-game stretch. It was just unreal what they were doing, and the whole narrative was changing. You're talking about the lineup with Mitchell leading the way, along with Allen and a bunch of other role guys kind of filling in. And I'm not going to steal this. I'm going to properly source this. Brian Windhorst kept talking about the 3 shooters, 1 ball handler, 1 big. And it really was working. And no sooner did guys start getting healthy and returning to the lineup that problems came back for this team. You had all 4 guys coming back, and they completely they just fell apart. They never found their way. They went into the All-Star break, they lost a game or so, and they came out. They went, if I saw correctly, I believe 12-17 after the All-Star break. And
So
that's
what would you do then? Would if we're retroactively looking at the season, looking for next year, if that doesn't work, exactly like you said, if that didn't work with because we didn't have the 1 big, the 1 shooter, and or the 1 ball handler and 3 shooters, what would you do next year? Let me ask you that to start off with.
all right. Now that's a very fair question here. Okay. So first things first, let's take a look at the timeline we've got before next season and the big decisions to make. First things first, you got to decide about Bickerstaff. Okay. In my opinion, I say he's got to go. And the reason I say this is I think he's the type of coach that can only take you so far. And he's gotten about as far as he's going to take this team. But the fact that the past 3 seasons, the team has collapsed in the second half of the season. They faded the year in 2022 when that was still just Garland, Mobley, and Allen. They end up in the play-in tournament. They lose 2 games in a row, get knocked out, don't make it into the official playoffs. Then last year, you kind of struggled along the way toward after the All-Star break. You end up in the first round with the number 4 seed again, or at that point, for the first time, you have a 4 seed, and you take the gentleman's sweep to the Knicks, and the Knicks manhandled us, honestly, and that was ridiculous. It seemed like there was a lack of game planning, a lack of ability to make adjustments on the fly. We just got outworked. It was kind of crazy. And so you said, okay, that was horrible. And you saw other problems. You said, is this lineup going to work? And you saw things that would happen in games, in tough situations. Inbounds plays were always a struggle. So you go to the offseason, you make these changes. You add Niang, you add Strus to try and add more shooting. In the offseason, Okoro is putting up tons of shots. You got Mobley putting up tons of shots. You're trying to reshape what the skill, some of the players and some of the skill sets of the players. So when you come into this year, you're like, all right, we got this. And they start out slow, 13-12. You have the injury. Suddenly, when you think that all hope is lost, out from the fire, emerges this team that does crazy things for a good 2 months there into the All-Star break, and then it all comes crashing down. And so you get into the playoffs, and again, they struggled. They managed to get through the Orlando series. It probably was tougher than it needed to be. No discredit from Orlando. A little bit tougher than it needed to be. And then you go into Boston, and then you just have the injuries. And I don't know what you could have done under those circumstances. So the first thing is I think that JB's got to go. So you bring in a different coach.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in here because I'm gonna disagree with you here.
All right, go for it.
I think I've been stained by the Browns over the last 20 years, where they have changed coaches and had zero stability in the front office for the last 20, what is it then, 5 years now, until we finally have a little stability with Stefanski. So JB is, if you can believe it, the 6th longest tenured coach in the NBA right now, which is hard to believe.
I know.
We saw in Milwaukee where they tried in the middle of the season, have a coach change, inject something that didn't work out. I think a lot of us fans think that the coach is a quick fix. but I think there's something to be said about stability and running the same system back. I love how JB he it looks like he likes and emphasizes fundamentals and defense, which can be lost a lot. I think when you have a younger team like we do, and I still think we are a younger team, even though they are grown before our eyes, I think you need that, and I think you need the stability. And the other thing is who else is out there? Who else would you get besides JB? Terry Pluto did a great article just looking at the available coaches. I don't have it in front of me, but there's really nobody out there that's really inspiring too. So I will just agree to disagree on this one,
And
but I
that's
think we need
fine.
to keep JB. But
All right.
sorry, go ahead for the next thing you'd
All right.
like to
So,
change.
all right. So I would start with that. Let's,
Okay.
so because I think that that's going to change potentially how the team operates. And then we're going to get to the part you talked about the team and how they didn't exactly, they didn't quit. But we were talking a little earlier about that article that came out in The Athletic, which kind of didn't make it sound like things were so, all copacetic behind the scenes. Now, so I think you have to move on from Garland, and possibly you might have to move on from Allen. Mobley showed me a ton last night. I was very impressed with his play, and it instilled some confidence. I'd love to keep both he and Allen. Garland, I'm out on. I'm out, Jerry. I'm out.
I'm with you on that. I have not seen enough. He's the highest paid player on the team. He's going to be hard to trade, but hopefully we can get something back for him. But the Garland Mitchell deal, it just doesn't work. So
No,
I'm with you on that one.
right. So I think if you start by changing the lineup a little bit and opening it up. So if you've just got Mitchell as your starting point guard, main ball handler, and distributor, that's a good start right there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to need to have, again, you're going to need a reliable big man. I'd love to actually see Mobley turn into more of a stretch four. I don't know if he's going to, how quickly he can get there or if he can get there. So that remains to be seen. And I'm not sure where they're going to go. Presumably, if they're going to trade Garland, who knows? I mean, that's a huge contract. What are they going to have to give up? Are they going to have to give up more than just Garland to get anything in return? Are we going to be able to draft a small forward in the draft? I'm not sure who's out there right now. The only name I've actually heard, which I don't know the reality of it, is Brandon Ingram from New Orleans. What do you do? I mean, we've got guys under contract. What are we going to do? Niang? Oy vey.
Yeah.
That's not so good, but I don't know. I mean, Morris was a short-term fix. Guys we've got people who are on the G League team, the Charge. You got Imani Bates. I don't know how quickly he's going to develop, if he can develop into an everyday player. Really like Craig Porter Jr. Could he serve as the backup point guard, or is he not quite skilled enough? Is he too streaky? That I'm not sure of, but what I do know is this. We can't I don't think there's in any way, shape, or form we can run it back the way we had it this past season. That's what I do know. And
what about let me just throw one thing there. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No,
What
go
about
ahead.
going with the Denver model, where they did kind of allow the coach and the star to grow together? I don't know the specifics, what pieces they brought in and brought out, but it took them, what was it, 4 or 5 years to actually win the championship last year after they kind of had those pieces together. But it took them growing together and going through those bumps to actually get there. And I feel like the Cavs are kind of like that as well. They're improving every year. Maybe not the drastic improvements we'd like to see, but maybe they don't need to make drastic improvements. And maybe in 2 to 3 years we see that this kind of works out with minor tweaks instead of major ones.
That's an interesting question and an interesting point. And it all remains to be seen. All is left on the table. The thing that worries me, you talked about actually the one thing you talked about was the Browns' instability, as we've all been scarred by the Browns, and that instability up until recent years with Stefanski and Andrew Berry. I worry that you fall into that trap of keeping a coach for the sake of not making a change, and you lose another year, a la Mangini, a la Hugh Jackson in that last year. Trust me, I'm driving this bus or whatever nonsense. No, so that's why and I felt like JB unfortunately was kind of Mike Brown-esque. Mike Brown, we won 63 games one season with LeBron and then got knocked out by Orlando because he couldn't make an adjustment.
Hey, maybe we can bring Mike Brown back for the third
Oh,
time.
good
There's an
Lord.
idea.
No, that's terrible. Maybe we could, can we get, is Lenny Wilkins still alive? Maybe he could be a player coach.
That'd be great. I'd love to see that.
I love Lenny. Love Coach Lenny. No, but we'll see what happens here. There are a lot of things that have to fall into place. The first thing is they've got to decide on the coach. Then once they've decided that, the draft is going to come up in June. And after that, then you get to the point of when Donovan could potentially sign a contract extension. And part of the article in The Athletic talking about if Mitchell stays and signs an extension, Garland's representation, Clutch Sports, Rich Paul will probably be going to the Cavs to talk about maybe finding him a new home. And I agree with that. Again, it was discussed on sports radio. It's not that these guys don't like each other. It's simply that they don't fit together is the issue there. And so I also had heard through, the grapevine or out there rumors that there is some interest in Garland. So we'll see what happens. Now, let me ask you this. This is an interesting question as we approach the draft here. Game 4, this guy from St. Vincent, St. Mary was in the crowd. Is that it? Or is that game 3? I don't remember, but LeBron James in the house. Now, although they're downplaying it, that there's, a link, necessarily a connection of if you draft, LeBron James Jr., Bronny, LeBron will come there. But let's say that he was on the board. Would you draft LeBron James Jr.?
On the board, like in the second round?
Let's say second round. Let's say first round. Wherever you feel comfortable. Let's just say he's available.
I don't think he's one of the top players to be drafted. If you're just going with skill, no, he should not be drafted. If you want to go for nostalgia and trying to lure LeBron back, then sure, maybe if you have like the last pick in the second round, I guess, but I don't know if that's a good strategy. So I could see them doing that for those reasons, but I wouldn't do it just purely on a player because he's the best player available whenever you're drafting.
Right. And I just, a lot of people, a lot of things swirling and stuff. And you wonder, though, the only piece to this is, let's say that he is a project, okay? Mm-hmm. Because he's not huge. He's not as big as LeBron. He's only came in the combine at 6'1", a little over 6'1", after USC had him jacked up to 6'3". Could LeBron plus Donovan Mitchell plus Evan Mobley get you to the promised land?
So I would think so, and I hope LeBron just sees that as well. For maybe wanting to come back to Cleveland for a third time, no matter what. Because the one thing that both LeBron and Mitchell have are just high basketball IQs too. And I think they would know how to, use their skills complementary, unlike Garland and Mitchell can't do. And I think they know how to use Allen and Mobley as well a little more effectively than they've been used right now.
Right. And I just wanted to let you know we do have some people tuning in, chatting here from the UK. Mike Pellegrini from the UK. He is tuning in, and we appreciate Mike tuning in. We've got Factory of Sadness for Life tuning in. I apologize. Only L's in Cleveland. Reality is reality. So we love having the comments. Mike, and since Mike is from the UK, he gets to use the soccer term, sack him.
Not a JB fan. That's all right. That's
not
all right. We'll
a JB fan, but that is okay. That is all right. All right. So moving forward here, there's a lot that's going to have to happen. But you and I just discussed a little while ago that article in The Athletic that was released just shortly after the game was over. And this thing was pre-written and ready to go, by Shams, Joe Varden, and our mentor at the Daily Kent Stater one, Jason Lloyd. And they're in the know and they're pretty well respected. So the fact that like you've got this infighting with Kobe Altman, coming in after the Houston game in December and admonishing JB, that's tough. And I mean, the fact that players, even Mitchell, weren't exactly thrilled with him, I don't know. That's going to make it a rocky road. I know what you're saying about JB, but like, uh, do you think if the players, if that's what's going on in the locker room, that could make it more difficult to keep him around?
Yeah, it's a little hard when you read that article and read those comments to keep everything in context too. Now, are we just talking about there's some disagreements and people feel free enough to open their mouths and disagree with the head coach? Because if that's the case, that's actually a healthy work environment. Or they're talking behind his back, doing these subtle comments that then that is not, and that's undermining the coach. So it's kind of hard to tell what type. The article, they made it sound like it was all negative and it's all behind. They're talking behind his back, and that could be. And if that's the case, then that's not going to work. But you never know. On just those few comments, it's hard to tell really how bad it is. So I guess maybe I'm just an optimist for JB in this, but I could be totally wrong.
Right, I appreciate that. Yeah, and as Factory of Sadness chimes in here, the Cavs are now the Browns of a few years back. And you know what I thought of when I read the thing about Kobe Altman going in and admonishing JB in front of the coaching staff? Made me think of a couple years ago when the Browns lost in Baltimore, and there was yelling in the locker room and people outside the locker room. I'm like, oh boy, that's not so good, Pally. That is not
Well,
good.
let me ask one more question on
Sure.
this too. So if Mitchell does not sign this summer, do you trade him or do you keep him?
See, I am. I think you have to. I think you've got to trade him for. You've really got to make a smart trade, but I think you trade him. It's not, he could do this thing where, I'm gonna decide later. Nah, You're in or you're out. I'm done. I'm not gonna do this. Homie, don't play that.
Well, because financially, I think it would make more sense for him to not sign until next year either. Because if I understand it right, he could sign this summer, 4 years for 200 million. Next summer, he can sign 5 years for I think it's like 267 million, which is a higher annual salary. So if he just wants to play that game, he'd have a longer. He'd have to risk this year injury and such, but he'd have a longer guaranteed contract with more money per year than he could now. So it might be in his interest just to sign next year since we have the bird rights to him. The Cavs do. So
Right.
I don't know. I would maybe run it back one more year with him in the hopes that you could sign him. And if not, maybe you can do something. Maybe hold on to Garland in that scenario too. So if you do lose
Oh
Mitchell at the end of the year, at least you have
no.
Garland.
Okay, that's it. We're gonna have to go to Mike's comment here. Mitchell and Garland doesn't work. Either got to trade Garland and Allen this offseason, build around Mitchell and Mobley, get another star, then build around the three. So, and actually, Mike
Interesting concept. Yeah.
also, but he is advocating for JJ Redick.
Yeah. Well, that's a name.
Is that
I don't know how good of a coach he
was he
is, but
mentioned in Terry Pluto's article?
I don't recall. I wish I did. I
Okay.
don't. But yeah.
All right.
Can we one thing we can all agree on, I think, is the
Yes.
refs were terrible
Oh,
in
they
that
were.
Boston game. In
It
the
was
Boston series, in the whole postseason, really, for us.
for everybody. They've been brutal. They've been brutal. Okay. All right. So wait a second. Now we've got Factory that Mitchell doesn't want to be here. I don't know that I buy that. I
No.
don't know that I buy that. I think Mitchell does like it here, but as Brian Windhorst said this morning, he is very good about kind of speaks softly. He doesn't make any waves. So we shall see. But I think we beat this to beat this topic, beat it like a dead horse or whatever it is. I think it's time to talk something a little more fun here. and welcome in another guest as we start to talk about the Cleveland Browns and what's coming up for next season. And one other comment here. What did Mike have to say here? Game 4 with LeBron in the crowd was the worst showing by the refs. Agreed. Absolutely, Mike. Absolutely. But of course, some people don't like the way LeBron petitions the refs, with his pleading and stuff. I don't know. You can't win. You can't win them all here. All right. Let us welcome in a special guest. As we talked about in the open about how Cleveland sports is a bonding thing and generation to generation, I want to welcome in my son, Jacob. Jacob, what's up, dog?
Nothing much.
All right, Mike, this is Jacob. He is obviously sitting on his floor, and I suppose that's a good look for him here. But anyway, bring him in as I have, unfortunately, you and I talked about this, Mike. I brought him into the fold of being a Cleveland sports fan, for better or for worse.
You're a good man for it.
I don't know, Jacob. Do you hold that against me? Will you forgive me for allowing you or convincing you to join the Cleveland fandom?
I don't hold it against you, no.
All right, I do appreciate that. I'm sure I'll make other mistakes that you can hold against me. I'm pretty certain of that. I definitely will do
That's
that.
what a good father does.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Uh-oh. Oh, no. That's parental abuse. Oh, come on, man. All right, that's enough. This is ridiculous. I'll tell you something, you morons. Anyway, so all right, let's talk about it. Yesterday evening, the Cleveland Browns schedule comes out along with the rest of the NFL. And first and foremost, I'm not going to be the first to bitch about it. I'm not going to be the last to bitch about it. But the fact that they make it this whole event, but then they leak out parts of the schedule throughout the week. I'm like, what's the point? Really? And
is this the I'm too old for this segment? You're too old for a 3-hour scheduled release show?
Well, definitely too old for that. That's for sure, Mike. But no, I guess I'm crotchety. I'm like, if you're gonna do a release, do a release. But again, I think that the NFL has done a marvelous job. They know how to control the news cycle and the narrative. So even when it's not football season, it's football season. So, and actually, one other thing that was kind of interesting, and I really would be curious about this. So all the programs were on at 8:00 last night, correct?
Mm-hmm.
About an hour before that, about 7:00, you've heard of Big Play, correct? They've got some folks in Cleveland that do some programming there, like Booby Gibson, and I think they've got a ton of other guys. Atlanta's on Big Play. Anyway, they tweeted out the schedule.
Oh, really?
7:00.
I didn't see that.
I was like, is that right? And I waited. I didn't, retweet it. I was like, because I didn't think that you could have 2 Thursday night games, on your schedule, and they did. And I was like, this can't be right. Sure enough, spot on. It was the right schedule. And I am just curious how that happens. And whether there are any repercussions for that, quite honestly, if they may not be taken out of a loop of some sort, depending upon how they came about the information.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I'm sure they're going to have some more subscribers or viewers after that.
Probably. Hey, look, they got Hanford Dixon on there, and they've got a show. They've got big dog Hanford Dixon. Well, I said Dixon, but they've got Blake Williams and Greg Williams. Mike, I didn't believe it either. I had a hard time, but they've got the Come Get Some podcast, which is actually pretty funny with the Williamses. So let's talk about our Cleveland Browns schedule. We knew last week we found out, or this week or last week, we found out early the Browns opener. For a while there in the offseason, they were thinking it was going to be the game in Brazil against the Eagles. Didn't happen. So now we get the honor of opening against Dallas at home, 4:25, and probably the bigger news is Fox is going to be broadcasting, and Tom Brady is going to be making his broadcasting debut. Sorry about that, Olsen. That kind of sucks for you. But your guys' first thought when you saw Dallas come up as the opener, Jacob, you were, let's see, were you born yet? No, you were not born yet the last time the Browns opened against Dallas after a good season. It wasn't fun. What's your thought on the Dallas game, Jacob?
I think it's a winnable game, definitely. If the defense picks up from last year and how they were doing, I think it's definitely a winnable game. Offense just can start doing some things, showing us the new offense, what's going to be going on underneath Dorsey and all the new coaches they brought in for the offense.
Good thoughts. Good thoughts. Mike, what about you, man?
Yeah, hey, those are all great comments. I agree with everything Jacob said. Like, I think it is definitely a winnable game. It's at home. The emotions will be, flying. Hopefully, we'll have a healthy Watson. We shouldn't have, well, knock on wood here. We shouldn't have any injuries, right? It's week one, but I guess we have the preseason we got to worry about. This team's dangerous with all the talent they have. That being said, I've seen them disappoint too many times in openers. But I'm gonna go with the W on this one, just to be the optimist.
Okay, so I'm gonna mark these down here. So first of all, as we talked about this game, Mike here from the UK chiming in, a Cowboys team that struggles on the road. Love it for us. Okay, so and Factory of Sadness. Let's see what you guys think. All on Watson. If he's not, blowing out of the water right off the bat, see ya. And I think this is a make or break year for him. But okay, so Mike, I'm going to write these down here. I have a W on the win. Yeah, Jacob, what do you have?
Oh, definitely a W. I think I just got some rough score predictions, 28-24 potentially.
Oh wow, man, you've done your research. You're better at this than me.
Yeah.
No, so Jacob, you've got a W. Mike, you're calling for a W. I struggled with it a little bit. Again, I've been scarred. The last time they played Dallas in an opener was the year after we went 10-6 and missed the playoffs because we obviously had screwed the pooch in the second to last game in Cincinnati where the wind was blowing like crazy and Derek Anderson, was captain interception. And then we lose out because Indianapolis sits Peyton Manning. And I think they had Jim Sorgi at quarterback or something like that. And they lose the final. So I was struggling because of that. And I didn't know how much confidence to have. But I am also going to go with a victory in week number 1 against Dallas. Factory of Sadness, he's not so positive. Again, only L's in Cleveland. Love it. I love it. Let's see here. So yes, and there we go. And we did win. We've won actually 2 season openers in a row. Is that correct, or am I missing?
No, that's correct. That's correct. We beat Carolina.
That is correct. We did beat Carolina under the fine quarterbacking of Jacoby Brissett and the late
kick,
and the kick of Cade York,
mm-hmm.
and then last year against the Bengals with a not so healthy Joe Burrow, as well as the weather being terrible in Cleveland. Okay, so we're all at 1-0 as we head into week number 2.
All right, I'd like to point something out first before we go to week 2.
Yes.
So Dak in the season opener since 2016 has been overall 3-5, all wins coming from the Giants. They lost to Carolina 2018, Rams in 2020, and Tampa Bay twice in a row in 2021 and 22.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. It's going to be curious to see what they do in the running back room. They brought Zeke Elliott back, but they don't have Pollard anymore. I'm not so sure what they're going to, how they're going to fare. Those are good points, good stats there. All right, well, moving on to week number 2, we get to travel to Jacksonville, and this was another interesting twist in the schedule because when we didn't get the Brazil game, everybody thought, are we going to England? And, possibly playing somebody there like Jacksonville. And that, it would have been Jacksonville. That did not happen either. So we shall save our passports for next season, probably. Mike, week number 2 at Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence should be healthy. We beat them last season in Cleveland, and that was part of the Flacco run. Lawrence wasn't completely healthy. What do you got here? What are your thoughts on week 2 taking on Jacksonville?
Okay, this one's easy for me. It's a loss, and two reasons.
All
Two
right.
reasons only. One is because they will disappoint after they win week 1. They do nothing but
Okay.
usually disappoint once we have our hopes up.
Yes,
And then
absolutely.
looking further down the schedule, I'm peeking ahead. The next 3 games after Jacksonville are all winnable games, and I do not see us going 5-0. So I think this one's a loss.
This is the one. This is
Yep.
the one that you're concerned with. Okay, I got you, Jacob. Where do you land on the Jacksonville game?
I completely disagree. I have an easy win, 24-7. I just didn't like how Trevor performed at the end of last year. I felt like he underperformed, especially in the Tennessee game. You know, they lost their spot in the playoffs and got the Steelers in.
Yes, and we hate them for that. And also he needs to get here's part of my I'm too old for this. Damn hippie needs to get a haircut.
Well, our 8-year-old in our house, Trevor Lawrence, is known as Pretty Boy.
Oh no. Well, what do they call him on? Rizzo calls him like sunshine or something,
Yep.
something of that
Yep.
nature. All right. Well, I thought about it, and I kind of felt like I didn't look at it, Mike. I still feel like we should and could win that game. Should. I'm going to say should. But like you said, they are prone to disappointment. As Mike in the UK, Mike Pellegrini points out, we swept that division in the regular season last year. So we shall see what's in for that. What does Factory Sadness have to say? Might as well mark them 17-0. No. We're not that unrealistic here. Only slightly.
With the toughest schedule in the league too, according to last year's
Right.
records.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to week 3, we're going to be back home at the Factory of Sadness. The Mistake on the Lake. We get to take on the G-Men, the New York Football Giants. And what do we got? No, they won't have Danny DeVito back there. They'll be back to Danny Dimes and Malik Neighbors. They added him in the draft. Mike, we'll go to you first. What do you got on this one? Take on the G-Men.
Back at home, it's a winnable game. The Giants are horrible. That's a W.
All right, Jacob, what you got?
I definitely agree. 28-3. I have it.
28-3. Holy smokes! Are you playing Madden over there? What's going on?
I just do not like Daniel Jones in the backfield at the helm.
You don't have any faith in him. You basically are saying what Baker Mayfield said, that he was surprised at, how high he got picked. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Mike, 11 or 12 wins. I'll take it for sure. All right. I think we'll get there. Let's see what our totals are by the end of the night here. All right. So I've also got a win over the Giants. I don't have any faith in them. They can't build. Their offensive line has stunk for I don't know how many years, and they can't get it right. And now they don't have Saquon either.
Yeah, I was just going to point that out. Also, don't have Saquon, got Singletary.
Yeah, great. Devin Singletary, wonderful. Yeah, he's a real Hall of Famer there. Let's see here, 17-0, win all games by 40, Super Bowl. Yes, that's great. That's also the Madden strategy right there. All right. So at this juncture, Jacob and I are out on a limb at 3-0. Mike, you're at 2-1. All right, week 4 at Las Vegas. Will they find themselves stuck at a casino all night and falling as they travel to Las Vegas? Jacob, you wouldn't know anything about the casinos, but I'm going to let you go first here on your call. Browns week 4 at Raiders.
Again, I'm going to say the same thing I did with the Giants. I just do not like the team. I think they have some good players. They have Adams. They got Christian Wilkins in free agency, and then they got Crosby, of course. But that's really it for me for like their roster. Like I'm not sure like who's going to be starting Aiden O'Connell. I assume he's going to start over Minshew, but I don't have that much faith in either of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with
a win.
I got 31-3.
31-3. Wow, Jim Schwartz is showing out in that defense. Oy vey. All right, I'll take the confidence. I like the confidence. Mike, what do you got on this game?
Yeah, I'll go with another win as well. Just
right.
because their quarterback situation's a mess, and we know how that is in Cleveland. So I'll take the win on this one.
Yeah, definitely. I was a bit concerned about this, but I thought better of it. I'm also going to go with a win. We shall see. Now, week 5. Moving on. Week 5. We get to take. Oh wait, let's see, Mike. What do you got to say about the Raiders? They'll be on quarterback 2 by week 4 to take another one on the West Coast. They've got to start winning when they travel west for sure. All right, we will be in. What is it? Why can't I think of the city? What's the city up there? It's not Arlington. Where do the Commanders play?
Well, they played Maryland.
Landover,
Maryland. Yep.
Oh, God, I can't even think of that. Crappy, crummy FedEx Field with their terrible turf. Mike, hopefully we'll all be there and present and accounted for on that one.
Yep. And because of that, I'm going to take the win just because if we go to this game live, I want to see the win. So, and their quarterback situation is horrible too. So why not?
I don't see Jaden Daniels excelling. I'm just going to give my pick and then we'll go to Jacob. I don't see Washington, Jaden Daniels having this early success. It may come, but I'm not sure how quickly it's going to come. I'm not sold on their coach. We shall see. So I'm also going to go with a win. Jacob, what you got?
Yeah, definitely. I do think Jaden Daniels will be a bit struggling earlier in the season. Like maybe they get it together later in the season, maybe not. I'm not sure, but I do have a 21-10 win.
All right, very nice. That's a rather conservative score there, considering the Las Vegas score. But we'll take it. We'll take it. Now, hopefully, we will have a good day in Washington at that crap hole of a stadium. All right, let's see. Now, wait. Are we also predicting how many season-ending injuries and OTAs? Well, that's a good question. That is a very good question. I'm counting on at least. I think Factory of Sadness, we probably can count on at least one Denzel Ward concussion, some soft tissue injuries. There'll be a lot of guys on bikes. I would definitely think that's possible. Mike, what you got? Mike Pellegrini, what do we got here? Our hardest matchup in the opening 5. See it as a potential trap game, a 1-score loss. Oh, Mike, no. All right. Okay, now, week 6, we travel to Philadelphia. Now, this was something I wanted to avoid. I wanted this game to be in Brazil as opposed to traveling to the Link to take on Philadelphia. They fell apart last year. They started out strong, coming off the Super Bowl, fell apart last year, and got knocked out in the wild card round. But they do add Saquon this year. Presumably, other guys back healthy. No Jason Kelce though. Jacob, we'll go to you first on this. What you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna say we're gonna take our first loss, 24-17. I think just Hurts. I think he's gonna definitely do good in the first half. Saquon, I think he'll be good this season because running in Philadelphia is easy with their offensive line. Then again, they did lose Jason Kelce, so might be a little bit of a setback. But I think Saquon will make up that ground.
All right. Factory of Sadness says that Denzel Ward guaranteed to not play all the games, bets his house on it. Hey, yo, I heard some people were trying to sell or buy his house. They didn't like what he was asking for it, though. So, but we'll see what happens on that. Mike, what you got on the Philadelphia matchup?
Yeah, that's also a loss too because we can't have that many wins in a row. Number one, and number two, we've proven last year that we can't play against good quarterbacks, and they have a good quarterback, and I think that's going to be the deciding factor.
Yeah, but the thing that I wonder about, just thinking about it out loud, is I wonder if they're going to be able to do the tush push as well as they did without Kelce. Will that make any difference? Or
they'll probably beat us more than a tush push is needed. I don't think this was close.
So what you're saying is, like Sirianni crying at the beginning of the Super Bowl, Kevin Stefanski will be, and we as fans will be crying by the end of that game.
Most likely.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right. I also give them an L. So it's a consensus loss here. Did want to point out Mike, commenting on the Commanders game. Um, saying, "Hey, what they did is underrated. Like them to challenge for a wild card spot." That's it. You never know. The turnover in the playoffs teams is always very interesting. Also, Mike chiming in, hoping they try to run the ball too much. All right, gotcha. Okay, we are moving on. So far, Jacob and I have a very, very optimistic 5-1. But Mike, you're right there at 4-2, and that's still if they start out 4-2, I'm a happy dude. I'm a pretty happy dude. Um, Considering we're not playing any division opponents in the first six. Aha! Aha! Week 7. The Browns open AFC North play at home against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. So, Jacob, what you got against the Bengals?
Yeah, Bengals. I think we win. Just that's just how it's been. Like just that's how it's been for the past couple of seasons. So I think and especially with a home game here, I do think they win 27-24. Close game though.
Close game. All right. It's going to come down to the leg of Dustin Hopkins. Hopefully, he won't be injured because if I have to see Cade York and that stupid mustache, I'm going to lose it. I'm also going with a win there just because we've historically done well. Stefanski, the defense has done well against Burrow. I don't even know how his health is either, for as much as everybody talks about Watson. Let's see how healthy Burrow is. Mike, what you got for the Week 7 matchup against the Bengals?
Yeah, I'll go win too. Division games are always hard, and we always seem to be right around 500. So I could see us going 3-3 against our division this year. So I'll take this one as the win, and probably the Bengals on the road as a loss when we get to that one.
Probably, yeah, I'm right there with you. Okay, moving on. The next week, and I mean, so we play 3 on the road, weeks 4, 5, and 6. And thankfully, they're not horrifically terrible games. Vegas, Washington, Philadelphia, 2 out of 3 are not crazy difficult, but anything can happen. Anything can happen, once the season starts. All right, so moving on, week 8, taking on Baltimore, the Ravens. The last time the Browns saw the Ravens at home was not so good. 90 minutes before kickoff, we're telling Dorian Thompson Robinson he's going to be starting. And he was a deer in headlights. And then in the return game in Baltimore, Deshaun Watson's throwing pick sixes. First play of the game for the second time in a season. And we somehow magically came back in that one. And Baltimore, they lost in the AFC Championship because they went away from what kind of worked throughout the season. And I'm not sure what to make of Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. So with that being said, I think that's going to be very difficult coming off the Cincinnati game. I'm actually going to take an L on that one. So with that, Mike, what you got?
Yeah, also an L. Maybe we can get Tyler Huntley out there to face his old team. But yeah, they're just a good team. And again, I'm going to go 3-3 against our division. I say this one's the loss, and then I'm going to spoil my last pick. But week 18 when we play them again, I don't think they're playing for anything, and they play their backups, and that's our win against the Ravens.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, so so Jacob, who do you have in the matchup here against the Bengals?
Yeah, I agree with Mike there. I think we lose at 31-21, but I think we do come back and we win week 18. I think the Ravens are going to do good in the first half of the season. Lamar and Derrick Henry back there.
Yeah, that we shall see what that lineup changes like. So you're thinking we're going to do well though. Okay, so optimism 8. You're at what 7-1, Jacob. I'm liking
I'm at
this.
6. No, I'm at 6-2. I said loss.
Oh, you said a loss. I apologize. See, I got to get the official records here straight. This is what Mike. This is what kids do. They keep us straight here.
This is good. I mean, we'll revisit this, I'm sure, next January. So we need to have the record now to see how accurate we were.
Absolutely. It's very important. I don't think I was so good last year. Not so sure. Okay, here's a good question. And so as we're talking about kind of an interesting point. We'll have reached week 8. Mike asks a good question. When do you think Chubb will be back? And he says this will impact his thoughts on playing the Ratbirds. I don't know if he will be back by week 8 because that'll be the end of October. I was looking at November possibly. I would say doubtful for that game, but crazier things have happened.
And will he be as effective as he was last year as well? Is the other question when he comes back.
Absolutely. All right, week 9, we've got Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers coming to town. You know, Justin Herbert and company, they've lost a ton of receivers. He's remaking that team. Will he have instant success? And quick thoughts on this one. I've got that down as a win. Jacob, win or loss there, bud?
Definitely a win. I think we win 21-14. Their wide receiver room is definitely lacking. They have Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnston, and Ladd McConkey, who they just acquired in the draft. Yeah, I think it's just bare bones there.
And they don't have Eckler either. They don't have Austin Eckler either.
They don't. They do not. I think like Herbert just doesn't have the weapons to succeed. Although I do think he's still a good quarterback, just nothing there for him.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that Harbaugh is a vast improvement at coach. Vast improvement at coach. Okay, so Mike, who do you have in the matchup against the Chargers?
I'll go with a win just to spite Harbaugh.
Exactly. And Mike in the UK, boo. Let's make sure we protect our signs because he and his folks are cheaters from that team up north. All right. So then we head into week 10. That is the bye week. And at this juncture, Mike, you're looking at 6-3. Jacob and I are at 7-2. All right. Coming off of the bye, we head down to the Bayou and visit the Mercedes-Benz Superdome or whatever it's called now. Derek Carr.
Caesar isn't the Caesar Superdome or something?
It probably is. I don't know. They own a lot of stuff. That's a lot of gambling going on here. Mike, what do you got taking on the Aints?
Yeah, I'm just going to go with a loss here. I think coming off the bye week, you would think they would start off better. But I think going on the road, maybe lose some focus. And I think this is going to be the trap game for us.
Ooh, tough one. Jacob, do you have a win or a loss here?
Definitely a win. I don't think Derek Carr is good.
No, he's not. He is not.
All right. So I have a win 21-17.
Very nice. Very nice. We should win.
No. Hold on. I think it's I meant to say 28-3. My bad.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. So all right. So let's look here. The next week, technically, let's see. So we are on week. Oh wait. So week 10 is that? Oh, is the bye week? That was week 11 we were talking about there.
Mm-hmm.
And what was your pick, Ethan?
My pick is a win there.
Okay.
So all right. I'm apparently being eternally optimistic here. All right. Next one at home Thursday against Pukesburg. Mike, what do you have there?
Win. It's Pittsburgh. It's Thursday. Hate
Yep.
the Steelers. Let's make this one our win.
All right. Can we make this a consensus win? Jacob, are you in?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, 21-17. I'm not sure who's going to be playing, Russ or Fields. I think Russ is going to start the season. Is he going to last till week 12? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm not confident in either quarterback. Russ is definitely way past his prime. And I think Fields just doesn't have too big of a ceiling.
Yeah, he's been kind of inconsistent. I hate to see that, but
21-17 win.
All right, so we got a consensus victory there. The next one will be at Mile High, Monday Night Football under the lights. Jacob, can we overcome the demons of Mile High?
I think we do. I think we do 24-14. I'm not sure who's going to start. I think Bo Nix is going to start for Broncos, especially seeing they took him at 12. Yeah, I don't like that pick.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, so I don't like Bo Nix. I don't think he's gonna be good there. So yeah, win.
All right. Never win in Denver. Never, ever. I love the confidence there. I love the confidence. Mike, what do you think? Can we
Yeah,
eliminate
I'm voting more with my heart than my head here, but I'm going to say a win just because I can't stand the Broncos and the history we have with them, and I just want to avenge that as much as I can. So I will pull with everything in my being to make this Denver game a win.
Yep. And maybe, as Mike points out, a Jerry Judy revenge game. Book it. Like it. I like it. And then what is factored? Taxes, death, and losing in Denver is a guarantee. Yeah, sadly, it's been kind of tough here. Which player will shave 3 times during the game? That's the question. Who's going to have a beard, then a Fu Manchu, and then just a mustache? What was Baker thinking? What was he? I don't even know, man. All right. Moving along now. Then week 14, we travel to Pukesburg to crappy Sure Stadium. And I'm gonna lead off. I'm taking that as an L. I don't trust us there. Tomlin is a good coach. For some reason, that's got the voodoo on us. I'm going with a loss there. Mike, what you got?
Also a loss. Just we can never sweep Pittsburgh. We just can't do it. So this is a loss for me as well.
Jacob?
Yep, it's the Steelers on the road, so another loss there. We just can't win there for some reason. I got 24-21, a close game though.
Okay.
Not gonna come away with it.
Bummer. All right. So this is a tough stretch, though. Week 15, we take on the Chiefs on the lakefront. Patty Mahomes, Travis Kelce, maybe T Swift will be in the crowd. Jacob, what do you think? Are we going to get Swiftied out of there? Is it going to be a Swift butt kicking, or are we gonna win that one? What do you think?
Definitely a loss again. Just Mahomes. So just Mahomes.
Yeah, that's all you need to say, right?
Yep. 35-24.
All right. I like it. Mike, what do you have?
Also going with the loss as well. End of the season, we'll see how injuries pile up. So yeah, loss.
All right. Okay. I am going to also take them with the loss here. I think that Mike was commenting on the Pittsburgh matchup there, but 8-1, so they don't have a winning season because they always have a winning season. And they're going to be right around there no matter what, somehow, some way. All right. So that's we're on a 2-game losing skid here. All of us. We got a consensus going on. So now, Mike, you've already spoiled this, I believe, because you said split the division.
Yep.
And this would be at Cincinnati Thursday Night Football. You've already said you think that's going to be a loss. You think Cincinnati will be healthy enough and they'll take care of business.
Yep, and I'm just going with my gut feeling. We'll go 3-3 in the division, so I think this one's a loss.
All right, Jacob, what do you have in Cincinnati? Do you feel more confident than Mike?
I do. I think we're going to come away with a narrow win, 24-21. I think it's going to be another close game, but I just think we just barely beat them.
All right, gotcha. All right, what do we got here? All right, so wait, week 12, Factory of Santa's through 15, 4-week losing streak. Well, yeah, I have him at that point as a loss as well in Cincinnati. So I've got the 3-game losing streak. We're almost there, Factory of Sadness. Now, what do we got here? It would be so Cleveland, though, to lose at Pittsburgh, then beat the Chiefs. I agree with that. It would be crazy. All right. So then we move to week 17. We've got a Sunday night game, and that, of course, could get flexed. Browns hosting Miami under the lights in front of the national audience once again. That'll be their 4th primetime game. Jacob at home, Dolphins, Sunday Night Football. Might be pretty bitterly cold. Will Tua and Tyreek be able to do anything? Will either of them be healthy by then?
I think it's a tough team. I think they'll be healthy being there. I have a loss 28-21.
All right. Mike, what do you have, sir?
Yeah, I think it's a loss as well. They've got good quarterback play, good receiver play, and we'll just see. I just don't see us winning more than 9 games this year, so I can't take this one as a win. Unfortunately, that gets us a 4-game losing streak on my books here, which is not great in the season.
You and Factory of Sadness all together. I do not. I actually have some optimism against Miami at home. So I went with a win there. I just feel like as good as Miami, as well as Miami plays at home, there's an equalizer when they have to go on the road, and we'll see how healthy they are. They stayed healthy last year for the most part, but that weather in Kansas City killed them. I don't know. So that breaks the losing streak on my side. Mike, you're still on a 4-game losing skid, heading into Baltimore for the season finale at the Rat Turds. Jacob, who you got?
I got the win. I think we end the season 12-5. I think we win 28 to 20 24 close game, but I think we do come out on top.
All right, so Jacob, you finished with 12-5. Mike, where do you sit on this?
I'll take it a win as well, but I only think it's a win because Baltimore's resting their starters. They've already got the division clinched at this point.
No!
I'm just trying to be a realist.
I know. Oh God, you're probably right. So Mike, what did we end up with here? You ended up with 9-8. Is this correct?
Yep.
Oy,
Not great, but
yeah,
that gets them into the playoffs.
There's going to be some wholesale changes. We will be, if they go 9-8, there are going to be some wholesale changes, friends. Okay, yeah. Jacob, Factory of Status wants to know where's the wins by 40. Come on, man. Come on, man. All right. I was looking at that last game. I am chalking that up as a loss. So my final tally is 11-6. That second half of the season will be rough. So one question we had here from Mike in the UK, who do you think will be winning the division? Jacob, you think that we would win the last game and take the division?
Oh, I saw that comment. I think they were talking about the AFC East with the Bills, Dolphins.
Oh, that division. Yes, I agree. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So I think at 12-5, 11-6, you could make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I don't think going 3-3 in division is going to cut it to win the North. I think you have to go 4-2 to have a chance there. And then obviously you have to do well against the AFC because, as you know, those tiebreakers and common opponents will come into play. But 9-8, I think, would be my bottom. They've got to go 9-8. I feel like there's enough winnable games there that you got to start at 9-8 and hope that, you get 10, 11 wins. Factory of Sadness, he is going with you, Mike. 8 to 9 wins, big changes coming in 2025. Because again, I think if they go 8-9, I think that means Deshaun doesn't play well, and they're moving on to another quarterback. Whether they might not be able to get rid of Deshaun, but they might be drafting somebody as his replacement. And Mike, he was, in fact, Jacob, you read that correctly, was talking about the division, the AFC East, when he was asking who would win that division. So those are our predictions here for the Browns' upcoming season. This should be a lot of fun, I think, or maybe a lot of heartbreak. I'm not sure.
Both. It'll be both. It always is.
It's a whole range of emotions, isn't it?
Yes.
It really is. And I'm sure as we lead up to this, we'll have some more thoughts and we'll see what happens there. All right. So, Jacob, we appreciate you joining us. Love the insight. We will go to you throughout the season for more Browns breakdown and other NFL information here. So I'm going to let you go, and we are going to close it out. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Great job, Jacob.
Yep, thanks.
All right. Appreciate my son joining me. I'll tell you what, Mike, there was some time, and I try and look back at it. When I started out doing radio play-by-play, that my dad was my spotter, and he even came on the air with me and did some color commentary for me. So never forget that. So I really appreciate Jacob being here and hope he enjoyed that. So
I'll tell you what, he had some very insightful comments too. He's been doing his research.
He does. He plays a lot of Madden. I'll tell you what, and he watches he's got the NFL Network on all night. When he was a baby, we had the weather scan on and he could practically repeat the forecast. Who knows? Who knows where this kid could go? He's going to be a GM someday, maybe. Or not. I'm aiming for him to own the team. So
great.
Right.
It would be fantastic.
That would be good. That would be good. All right. So I know we're running a little late on time here, Mike. Can you tell us, maybe are you too old for anything this week? If there's anything that got you going, I'm just too old for this.
Yeah, I guess I'll go with yelling at the TV. I was yelling at the TV watching the Cavs play like an old man, especially every time I saw Tatum get the ball and push off with his forearm and the refs not call it. I couldn't take it. So I was the old guy yelling at the TV for the last 2 weeks watching them play.
Yeah, I was surprised at myself. Normally when Jacob and I watch the football, I kind of sit and I'm just frustrated and going, oh, and kind of grunting and moaning. I found myself yelling a lot more watching the Cavs in the playoffs. So I understand that. I don't know if I'm too old for that. I guess I'm not outgrowing that. I am angry old man. I am pretty angry. All right, but what has me, thinking about it here as I looked at the NFL schedule, I'm too old for this moment this week is when I started seeing the fact that there's going to be games on even more networks now or more platforms. Now the Christmas games are on Netflix. I'm like, oh, come on. Really?
You're going to go broke subscribing to all these services, and they're all streaming. You can go broke trying to watch all the games this year.
Exactly. I mean, it's one thing to get the Sunday ticket, to have it all in one place for all the games. Now, the cool thing for us, you and I, is that since we're playing the NFC East, there's going to be some other games that will end up being on if they don't go up against, Washington. So we will have some extra games plus the primetime games. But obviously the primetime games are on, Amazon, the Thursday games, the Sunday night game and the Monday night game, no problem. But I mean, I just can't do this thing with all these things. I'm going to have to, fortunately, if Amazon is a 30-day trial, I can get the games between Pittsburgh in week 12 and the Thursday night game at Cincinnati week 16 are within 30 days of one another. So I could theoretically get it right before the Pittsburgh game, watch the Cincinnati game, and cancel because I don't got Amazon Prime. So we shall see here. And to the point about our, the Cavs games, Mike pointing out JB moaning at the refs continuously throughout the regular season didn't help our reputation when it came to getting calls in the playoffs.
And if you want to jump to the going nuclear segment,
yes, please go right ahead. Tell us what has you. Tell us, Mike, what has you going nuclear this week?
On that note, it is the refs in these playoffs. The looking at the Boston series, it kind of came to light during Game 4 when we were out free throwed by 17.
Yes.
Well, I went back and look. We were out free throwed every single game that series to a total of 30 for the 5-game series, which is absolutely ridiculous. I then look back at the Magic game because, that kind of resonated with me too. I'm like, yeah, I remember being angry at the refs in that game. That was a 7-game series. We were still out free throwed by 30 during that series. And we, of the 7 games, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, the Magic had more free throws than we did. 1 was even, and 2 of them, only 2 games, we had more free throws. So I feel like the refs this entire postseason for the Cavs have been awful, and that has me going nuclear.
Yeah, totally agree there. I don't understand and how it's terrible. They are awful. They are just awful, and I can't figure out what's a foul, what's not a foul. I can't believe that Jaylen Brown grabbed
Struce's leg
and didn't get called for a flagrant that wasn't a basketball play. Come on, man.
Or the Merrill 3-pointer at the end of the quarter.
What'd they say? That was a high five. That was a high five. I'll high five you in the next week. I'm going to high five you with my foot up your tuchus.
Yeah, I feel like that's got you going nuclear too.
Oh, it did. Oh, trust me. It did. I as I said, I was yelling. Georgia's getting very upset. Very upset here. All right, what do we got, Mike? Here, we got 7 free throws, 2 of which were technicals in Game 4. Yes, set the 24-7 there. That was ridiculous. So, Mike, what has me going nuclear this week also relates to the Cavs games. TNT, let me tell you something, and CBS for that matter. You get that no good turd Spiro Ditas off of all Cleveland games forever. That guy is awful. He is such a Cleveland hater. Last year, I'm pretty sure he was teamed up with Mark, butt fumble Sanchez. 2 weeks in a row, we had to listen to his sorry butt. He is horrendous. And for years, because he's on like the F team of CBS broadcasters, and since we've been so terrible, we have to listen to him, and he stinks. And he's not neutral. You're on a national broadcast. You're supposed to be neutral. Did you realize? I mean, you probably wouldn't. Mike Breen, even though he's the Knicks announcer on TV on the MSG network, if he has to cover a game between the Knicks and whomever, I don't sense the inability to separate himself and be neutral. And Spiro Ditas is terrible. He is just awful. In fact, last year he ruined, not this past season, the season before, when Kent State was playing UCLA in the NCAA tournament. That jackalope was the announcer and ruined it for me. He ruined it. It was terrible.
Wow. I like how you brought that back. You do have a grudge against them. I think that is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. I keep receipts. Giddy up here. And Mike, he also chimes in. Oh my God, had to mute, in last night's game. He's so bad. Yeah. Not a fan of his. I really liked the Jeff Van Gundy crew with Mark Jackson. Sorry, they're not there. Even better was yes, and it counts. Little Marvin the Czar.
That's right.
Yes, Spiro for no. See that Factory Sadness. That's Spiro as opposed to Spiro. You got it. It's the whole pronunciation thing. I think that's where it goes wrong. So that is what has me going nuclear this week. So, Mike, we didn't even make it to the Guardians. That's a good story. We'll have more on that next week here. When we get back. Appreciate Mike in the UK, Mike Pellegrini, for commenting, for listening. Factory of Sadness, love it. Jacob, thank you for joining us. And that's going to do it here. So for Mike Rasinski, I'm Ethan Greenberg, and you've been watching Going Nuclear, full-blown coverage of